So we all know like the big tools and machines that are fun to have in the shop and that you gotta have, or maybe you wanna have or upgrade to. But it's also fun to just spend money. It's nice when you can buy things for the shop that aren't thousands of dollars, maybe just a few bucks, maybe less than $10, which is where this video comes in, because we like to buy things for the shop. We don't always wanna or can buy something that's, you know, gonna cause us fight or show up on a credit card statement. So let's go over some cool things. We're gonna have links below to all these in the description in case you want to Amazon it. I'm Caleb with YouCanMakeThisToo. Let's talk about some unsung heroes of the shop that are super, super useful that aren't that expensive. First up, this one's fairly new to me actually. French squares. I've been guilty of trying to find any round thing of varying sizes. Unfortunately, I have a good selection here to make any kind of curves or round offs and mark them on my projects, which works fine for anything that is a simple curve, meaning it has a single radius and doesn't change. But that's kind of the opposite of what French curves are normally about. They're about these complex curves that kind of change radius and slope. These you see a lot when you talk about French curves, which are probably like based off the Fibonacci sequence or a golden ratio or the Illuminati or something. So that's really handy. And I got 2 packs. Each of these was only 10 bucks. And the reasons I got 2 is for more options. These are a lot of different sizes, a lot of different curves. These were a little different. These also had a bunch of circles. But what I like about this one is it has all these little hash marks and measurements, which makes it really easy to, if let's say I'm gonna make a curve on something, I know I wanna start at this 31 here and I'm gonna end at this 8. Now I have 2 marks that I can just go to on my piece and line those up and be able to make the same curve repeatedly on all 4 corners of a piece or something. Can do that with these 2 to make like start and end points. I just wanna put blue tape on there or something and then mark on that, or I bet a Sharpie would wipe off of this. But yeah, French curves, they're not that expensive, and then you don't have to, you know, be a Neanderthal going around the shop for everything that's round, trying to find the right size and hope you have it. You just have some really inexpensive tools that make perfect, pleasing, fair curves. And of course, speaking of blue tape, that was wasteful. Really inexpensive, and the reason blue tape's so handy in the shop is it is a light tack. So when you put it on something and pull it off, you don't leave a sticky residue behind, which on your woodworking projects would be bad because it's going to interfere with your finish later. Also, kind of because it's sort of paper-based, it's easy to write on and it takes writings really well. So if you ever need to make notes on something and make temporary marks so you don't want to have to sand out, blue tape is perfect for that, and there won't be any residue left behind. It's also high vis, so I like to use this for doing marking and layouts where I might just be putting a pencil on it, but also say I've done a lot of work with walnut and other darker woods. That's really hard to see pencil lines. Well, it shows up great on this, but say I want something really high contrast, and if I'm gonna be using like a handsaw, sometimes the blue tape will like tear and get rid of my line, then it's not nice and crisp. So a trick I like to use for some hand tool work layout sometimes is go to the old marking knife, lay out my blue tape, and then when I make my marks and I cut the blue tape, I can just lift my blue tape off, and now I have a super high vis, very crisp line that I can work right to really easy. I'm not like squinting. It is also even good for light duty clamping. I've used this to clamp like really thin pieces of wood together where all you need is just enough to hold it together until the glue dries. But yeah, it's really handy, definitely worth keeping in the shop. Oh, and I didn't mention using it as a pad. Another thing I use it for all the time is say I need to mix up a little bit of polyester resin or something. A lot of times I'll grab a piece of scrap wood laying around if I can to mix things on that I'm gonna throw away because it's trash anyways. If I don't have anything handy, just lay down a little blue tape, mix up whatever on there, and then when it's all done, just ready to throw away and clean up. Nice and easy. Speaking of marking, graphing pencils. I've got these really nice graphing pencils that I really like. They're mechanical, so it uses the lead, has a pretty fine lead. They just have a really nice, solid feel to them, and this is really good for getting right in that corner, making a mark exactly where you want. Traditional carpenter's pencils, those big rectangles you see on job sites, that's for rough carpentry where you're just hoping to be within 1/4 of an inch tolerance. Oh, and you know, you're sweating over 16ths in 30 seconds, you really want to be using a fine marking device, and preferably a marking knife, but sometimes pencils are the right tool for the job. Have a nice pencil for when you're doing that. On the flip side, a lot of times we start with rough material, at least I do, and pencil lines don't show up on rough material, and all you're gonna do is constantly break leads and you're barely gonna be able to see it. That's where lumber crayons come in great. Black is nice, but I like having some colors because they really stand out. So whenever I'm doing my initial rough breakdown on pieces, a lot of times I go to the lumber crayon because they're dirt cheap and they just scream at you. This is your like, I'm just trying to be within a ½ inch and break down this 12-foot board into something I can manage and get to all my pieces. It's handy. Another reason I like to have multiple colors of lumber crayons is when I'm doing my first initial layout, and some of my old projects, you'll see me do this in the project videos, is I'll use the red to highlight any defects in the wood that I know I want to work around. So then when I'm planning, back in there. So then when I lay out where my pieces are, I don't have to worry about accidentally working a defect into a piece and screwing up my whole layout, because I can see, boom, red, that's a knot hole that I definitely don't want, or a crack. And then I'll go in with a different color and make all my, initial cut marks of where I'm gonna break it down. Especially for finishing painter's pyramids. You can get these in all different kinds of price points. These were probably a little more than 10 bucks a pack. Actually, I bet they weren't, but that was like years ago before everything got stupid expensive. These are handy for exactly what you think, which is just elevating a surface without marring it or interfering with finish or being sticky. And obviously I've used these for painting, but even just oil finishes, what I normally do if I'm pre-finishing a panel is whatever side is going to be most visible to top, I put it down on a blanket and I finish the underside, and then I'll flip it over and put that finished underside on painter's pyramid. So that way if I do get a little dimple or anything, it's not on the visible side, and then I'll finish the top. And then both sides have finished curing at the exact same time, which saves a whole lot of time over like completely finishing one side, then flipping and trying to completely finish another side. That doubles your time. Also, sometimes when I spray and stuff, say I have something fully assembled and I set it down on the ground, I'll lay out my drop cloth or whatever, but I don't want my finish to fuse like the bottom of that leg with the drop cloth where they meet. What I'll do is I'll just, put a painter's pyramid under each leg to elevate that a little bit so I can spray all the way to the bottom of a piece without worrying about it fusing to whatever it's sitting on. So they're cheap, they're handy, you'll find all kinds of uses for them. Mostly just finishing. And in that vein of having something to set your surfaces on that you're working on, moving blankets. This is one of those Harbor Freight finds that I stock up on these from Harbor Freight with the coupon, maybe even without. Pretty sure that these are under $10. They have 2 different sizes. This is the bigger size. I have a bunch of the big ones and the little ones. I use them for deliveries. I've got, I don't know how many of them on hand that are super handy for deliveries, because obviously, they're moving blankets, but also just in the shop whenever I start going through my sanding sequence, especially, but I've got to be shuffling pieces around, but I don't want to, get scratches or anything. Just lay out some moving blankets. Look right here, right? I've got this giant table I've been working on, and these leaves, I needed somewhere to set it. Everything's finished. I don't want to set wood on wood, so I just whipped out a moving blanket and now I can stack it. And normally, like I recently did a set of 5 tables for a restaurant. Well, I don't have room to have all those spread out all the time. So as I was going through my sanding sequence, I'd have one table I was working on and another table I'd work my stack. So I could take a tabletop, set it there, lay down a moving blanket, finish another table, set it on there, another moving blanket. So yeah, once you get to sanding and finishing, just being able to have a nice, clean, soft surface to protect things while you're working on them is fantastic. And even during the sanding process, say I've sanded one side of it, now I need to flip it over and sand the other side. Well, I don't want to put that fresh sanded side on my junky workbench. Throw it in a moving blanket, put the finished side on that moving blanket. Speaking of finishing things, I guess I could just record with all this over there, but I kind of like my backdrop and set here. Spray bottles, I got these locally. I'll find an Amazon link to stick below for you. I love to use 50-50 mix a lot for dusting things off, which is just half water, half denatured alcohol, because it dries really quick. But I also use soapy water sometimes, or sometimes just water. Just having a variety of spray bottles, like there's always things in the shop where you might want to mist or spray with 50-50 or mineral spirits or water or alcohol or soapy water or whatever. So spend a few bucks. And the main reason I have so many is, I want to say all of them probably have 50-50, but whenever I only have one bottle, it tends to get lost and I can't find it. So I have like 3, one tends to live, I actually pulled this off of here, lives with all my sanding stuff, because it's when I'm sanding that I use it a lot. But yeah, have a couple so that way if it disappears, you're not up the creek. Craft sticks or popsicle sticks. which I guess is not actually a popsicle stick if it doesn't have a popsicle on it. Maybe there is a difference between craft sticks and popsicle sticks. I don't know. If you know, let me know. These are stupid handy for mixing things in particular, right? So whenever I'm mixing polyester resin or 5-minute epoxy, or whipping pigment into epoxy, often use craft sticks for that. I pull these things out all the time because they're so dirt cheap for leveling projects. So especially if I'm molding something up and then I'm gonna be pouring epoxy or whatever into it, that leveling process is really important, and inevitably something needs to be shimmed. Well, these are like 3/32 of an inch or so, which is a pretty good shim size to start building from. Whenever I'm leveling something, I'll grab a handful of these and like break a bunch of them in half and use that to shim up a project to keep it level. And then just having a little stir stick or a little dipper stick, so when I do have to dip out some pigment dispersion or mica powder or whatever, I'll use these tongue depressors. They're also called tongue depressors a lot. But yeah, they're handy to have, and I want to say I normally pick these up locally for like $2 a pack or something, but I'll have an Amazon link for you if you're more interested in that. This one, mildly controversial. This is a glue bot. You don't have to use a glue bot, but some type of glue dispenser, because when you buy glue in the bottles that are actually handy for pouring glue out of, they're like the most expensive way to buy glue. When you buy it by the gallon, which is how I do because I also go through a lot of glue, it's significantly cheaper, but a gallon milk jug of glue is seldom like the most efficient container to use for actually using the glue. So having a glue bot is really handy. What's nice about this is the way it works. We have this funnel that comes up, so when you squeeze this, it pushes the glue up and out of the top, so you're not dealing with the whole like trying to shake the glue down. And these work pretty well, and they also have a small tip and a little cover that I lost forever ago. I recently ordered some upside down condiment bottles, because I know a lot of people swear by just using like the restaurant ketchup mustard bottles to put glue in, that have the fine little tip on top, and then they'll cut it to different sizes. So you might have like a fine one and then a thick one if you need a little glue or a lot of glue. But I feel like with those, you'd be trying to shake down the glue, which is fairly thick, kind of like how you have to shake down the ketchup or mustard. So I ordered some upside down ones, and I want to give them a try, and because, you know, they're upside down, so it stays on the bottom, so you just give it a squeeze. I'll update you guys on that sometime, probably on my Instagram. But yeah, buy glue in the big bottles, which is more than $10, but cheaper, and then just get some glue bottles that are easier to dispense glue with. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not, oh, 10, because the spray bottle. And there you go, that's 10 things under $10, kind of unsung heroes. Like I said, everyone knows the big things everyone wants, but those are things that I use in the shop all the time that are stupid handy, and oftentimes kind of pop up in videos, but you might not notice if you're not paying attention, and I definitely think they're worth it. If you want to make your shop time a little easier, a little more enjoyable, I have links below for all of it. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you are the kind of person who likes to like and comment, share videos, and do all that stuff, thank you so much. That helps a lot. If not, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, were inspired, or a little entertained, and until next time, make time to make something.